Good evening, everyone. I hope you're doing well and you went through the yesterday's lecture and note. We'll wait for another minute and then we'll start today's lecture. In the meanwhile, if any one of you have any doubt, you can ask. Then let's start with today's current affairs lecture. So yesterday we were studying about the launch vehicles and various space missions of different countries. We studied about Saturn and Jupiter, the great the great constellation. We studied about the difference between GSLV, PSLV, difference between the different type of orbits. So today we'll continue our space section and we'll see the Hayabusa 2 mission, which is Japan's Aerospace Exploration Agency's mission. It's an asteroid mission and it aims to reach the asteroid Ryugu to bring back samples to Earth. So important points from here is what this mission's aim is. It's an asteroid mission. It is by JAXA. It is going to asteroid Ryugu to bring back samples. Next we see the Kuiper belt. Now Kuiper belt comes under the basic static knowledge that it's an circumstellar disk of asteroids which rotates out in the outer solar system outside the orbit of Neptune. And what it contains asteroids and it is present between Mars and Jupiter. So the important point here is that where this asteroid belt is present, what it contains, and it is in the outer solar system. Important point here is the Chang'e 5 moon mission of China, and you should take a note of all the other moon missions which are planned and the agency which is planning them. So next, now we move towards the Ministry of External Affairs and its initiative. First is the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation, ITEC, which is an initiative of Ministry of External Affairs. It was launched in 1964. What it aims to provide diplomatic assistance to developing countries. Now through this program, what India is doing is providing assistance to Asian countries and African countries, developing countries as we discussed earlier, and to develop e-governance structure. So through this, India is providing assistance to develop technical science and technology and to improve the soft power. Now what the soft power means? Soft power means the culture, art, language, movies, everything which depicts what Indianness means is comprises of soft power, and its counterpart is, or its opposite is, hard power. Hard power means wars, military, sanctions and other things. So soft power is positive impact and hard power is negative impact. Next we go to the Global Pravasi Rishta portal. Now this is again a Ministry of External Affairs initiative. It is launched for it's a mobile app and it aims to connect the Indian diaspora spread all over the world. What it will do is it will create a three-way communication between the Indian missions, the External Affairs Ministry and the Indian diaspora. Now next we move to the SAMEEP program. Now, SAMEEP stands for Student and MEA Engagement Program. What its objective is, it is to outreach, is to it's an outreach program to familiarize school and college students in India about functioning of the MEA or the Ministry of External Affairs. Now, its main aim is to globalize the Indian foreign policy and to make the diplomacy as a career option for the students. Next, we see the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. Now, Pravasi Bharatiya Divas is celebrated on 9th January. Why 9th January? Because on 9th January 1915, Mahatma Gandhi, the greatest Pravasi of India, returned to India from South Africa. So every year we celebrate 9th January as Pravasi Divas to mark the contribution of overseas Indians community in the development of India. Now, it was started in 2003 and till 2015 it was celebrated each year. But after 2015 it has been started to be celebrated every alternate year or every 2 years. So the last Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, which is the 16th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, was celebrated in 2021 virtually due to COVID. And the theme was contributing to Atmanirbhar Bharat. We all know why this is important, why our diaspora is important, because the overseas Indian community gets a shared platform to get themselves engaged with the government and the native people of land. Now, India is creating its own brand in the international stage, so that's why the Indian diaspora and connecting with them becomes more important. Now, Pravasi Bharatiya Divas also celebrated the role of NRI, OCI and PIOs. It also has the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award and the Pravasi Bharatiya. It's the highest honor conferred on an NRI or PIO. The Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award can only be conferred on an NRI or a PIO or an organization or institution established and run by NRI and PIO. So, no Indian citizen residing in India or a non-PIO citizen of India can be given this award. Only an NRI and an PIO can be awarded, and institutions and organizations established by them can only be awarded. Now, next is the Know India program. It's a 3-week program by Ministry of External Affairs for the youth diaspora to promote awareness on different facts of life in India. It also gives the progress made by the country in various fields. It's another way to increase our soft power. Now, next we see the difference between OCI and the NRIs. And this becomes important for the static part of the exam. The OCI are the overseas citizen of India and the NRI are the non-resident Indians. Now, NRIs are not foreigners, they are Indians. They have the Indian passport. How NRIs are defined? They are defined under the Income Tax Act. So, according to the Income Tax Act, NRI is an Indian who lives abroad for more than 180 days. Now, this has been recently reduced to 120 days. Now, OCI person what is the difference between an NRI and an OCI is the OCI person does not hold Indian passport, but an NRI still has Indian passport. He is still citizen of India. OCIs are not citizens of India. They are overseas citizens of India, and we'll see what an OCI actually means. They are somehow related to India. Now, what are the criteria to get the OCI card? Is first, they were citizen at time or after Constitution came into force, that is 26 Jan 1950. This implies the forefathers of the person who were citizens at the time or after Constitution came into force on 26 January 1950. Now, eligible to become citizen of India on 26 Jan 1950. For this point refers to the Citizenship Act of 1956. The Citizenship Act has all the parameters which tells us who an Indian citizen can be. So, this point comes from there. Next, we go to third part, which is any individual belonging to territory that became part of India after 15th August 1947. So, we know many territories such as Sikkim, Goa, Pondicherry became part of India after 15th August 1947. So any individual belonging to these territories also become part of mainland India, and any person from these territories now living in some other part of the world can also apply for the OCI card. Now, children or descendant of any of the above category, foreign origin spouse of citizen of India or OCI. Now, spouse of an OCI card holder can also get a OCI card. Now, next is the minor child belonging to the above category. Now, there are some exceptions. Now, anyone who is applying for OCI card should have valid passport of another country. अगर आपके पास किसी और कंट्री का पासपोर्ट नहीं है, then you are not eligible for an OCI card. Now, individuals who do not have citizen of any other country are not eligible for OCI card. The next is individual whose parents or grandparents hold citizenship of Pakistan and Bangladesh are not eligible, even though these territories were part of India before 1947, before 1950, but we see here that it is already written that those who were eligible to become citizen of India on 26 Jan 1950, on 26 Jan 1950, these two were already separate countries. So that's why individuals from these places are not eligible for OCI card. Now, what are the special benefits an OCI card holder gets is that he or she gets a lifelong visa. That means he or she does not need to apply for visas again and again. The OCI card in itself acts as a visa, and you can visit India multiple times. The important thing is they cannot do research work on their own. They need special permission to conduct research work in India. Now, every foreigner, after staying or spending some days in India, needs to report at the Foreigners Regional Registration Officer or the FRO office to register themselves again after staying on a period of a number of days, but the OCI card holder are exempted from this. Now, the OCI card holders cannot acquire agricultural and plantation properties. Besides that, OCI card holders have similar economic facilities that are extended to NRIs. Now, NRIs can own agricultural plants and properties because NRIs are still citizens of India, but OCIs are not citizens of India. They are getting special provisions because somehow they are related to the Indian citizenship, but they are not true citizens of India. So NRIs get to hold the acquisition of agricultural and plantation properties, but OCI are exempted from this. Besides that, both NRIs and OCIs get similar facilities in the fields of economic, financial and education. Now we come to the adoption. They get the similar benefits as NRIs. They are treated at par with NRIs at entry fees for national monuments, practice professions, though they are citizens of some other country, but they do not need to pay the special foreigner fees that you must have seen at various museums and tourist spots. They pay the same fees which an NRI has to pay. Now they are also eligible to participate in the All India Pre-Medical Test or the NEET test. OCIs and NRIs get to write NEET test just like an ordinary citizen of India. Next we see the airfares and the traffic fares are all same with the Indian as for the Indian citizens. We have already seen the entry fees is same, and there is an OCI booklet which has all the lists of services available to them, and they can refer to them for availing services. Now we see the Umang International app. Now we already had the Umang domestic app, which was the unified mobile application for new age governance. Now an international app has been launched by Ministry of External Affairs for the benefit of the NRIs and the citizens living outside India. It provides access to high impact service of various organizations of center and state, and it will help Government of India in e-governance and develop a good relationship with the diaspora outside. Now we now come to the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. I think whatever we discussed with Ministry of External Affairs, those initiatives and schemes are enough for the exam purpose, and it was discussed in depth. Now we come to the next ministry, which is Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and the first topic is Right of Person with Disabilities Act 2016. Now why this act is important? Because the number of disabilities or types of disabilities has been increased from 7 to 21. Now you need to make a note of disabilities which are not actually seen as disabilities. Those could be asked in MCQ form, like acid attack victims have been added as disables as a disability under this. So MCQ can be formed, and you should keep a note of all the 21 types of disabilities. Now an increase has been made in the reservation for people with disabilities. In government job it has been done to 4%, and in higher education to 5%. The right to free education has been extended to all children with benchmark disability between the age of 6 and 18. Now we next see that there is a separate national and state fund to be created. We also see that 5% is provided to person with disability for higher education, and the data is that 2.21% of Indian population lives with disabilities. And why this act becomes important? Because it helps India to fulfill the obligation of the UNCRPD, or the United Nations Convention on the Right of Person with Disabilities. Next we see the Deen Dayal Disabled Rehabilitation Scheme, DDRS. Now why this scheme is important? Because this is a scheme which is not directly providing any service to the citizens. It is supporting the NGOs. Now it is supporting NGOs providing services like special school, vocational training and preschool. So this becomes important for in MCQ, where a question can be asked that Deen Dayal Disabled Rehabilitation Scheme provides support to what? NGOs, disabled citizen and other options. So it provides support to NGOs working for the disabled people. Now we next come to the Assistance to Disabled Person program. Under this, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has initiated Assistance to Disabled Person program, which is free distribution of assistive aids and devices to Divyangs. This is specifically for people earning less than 20,000 rupees, and aids which do not cost more than 10,000, or which are less than rupees 10,000. Now a camp was also organized in Kanpur under LMCO, which is the Artificial Limbs Manufacturing Corporation of India. Keep this full form in mind. What is LMCO? It's a PSU. It's not an NGO, it's a PSU, and it works under Department of Empowerment of Person with Disability, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Now these are various institutions which work for the disabled. These are all government institutions, so you should go through them and keep in mind that these, if asked, are government institutions. Do not confuse them with NGOs. Now next we see that there is a Chief Commissioner for Person with Disabilities, and it was set under the Persons with Disability Act 1995. It is not under the 2016 Act. It has been there since 1995, and it functions to monitor utilization of funds dispersed by central government. Next we see the Rehabilitation Council of India. It is a statutory body. It's not a constitutional body. It's a statutory body. What it does is it's regular training programs and courses targeted at disabled, disadvantaged and special education requirement communities. Next we see the Accessible India campaign. Now this is a flagship campaign. The central government has been very much fluent about making India accessible. So it comes under the Department of Empowerment Person with Disabilities. Now its main purpose is to build an environment accessible to Divyangs, and how it targets it, that making 50% of all government buildings of national capital, which is Delhi, and all the state capitals fully accessible. So here the tricky question can be asked in MCQ is that the target of accessible India is to make 50% of all government buildings in whole India accessible. No, it is only for the national capital and all the state capitals. Next we see is completing accessibility audit by of 50% government buildings, ensuring 50% of railway stations in the country are fully converted into accessible railway station. 25% of government or public transport carriers in the country are converted into fully accessible carriers. Next we see the Divyang Sarthi mobile app. Now what is this? It is under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, was launched by the minister himself. It is the accessible and comprehensive mobile application for easy dissemination of information to Divyangjans. So this application will have special ways to disperse information, such as bigger characters for people who have issue in seeing smaller characters, text to speech. These ways the information will be disseminated to the Divyangjans. Next we see the National Center for Divyang Empowerment, established by the CRPF. This is important. Who has established the National Center for Divyang Empowerment? And what is the purpose? It is not for all the Divyangs, it is for the Divyang warriors, the people who got disabled in the line of duty. National Security Assistance Program is a welfare program being administered by Ministry of Rural Development under NSAP. Indira Gandhi National Disability Pension Scheme was launched in 2009. So keep in mind the year. It was not launched recently. It is from 2009. Next is the Indira Gandhi National Disability Pension Scheme, provides rupees 3,300 is given for person who is less than 80 years, and rupees 500 is given to person who is more than 80 years. Now we see the UDID project, which is a unique ID for person with disability. Why this is important? That it will allow the disabled person to keep the disability certificates at one place, and they do not have to carry them, and a universal ID will be enough to prove their disabilities. Next we will study about the Niti Aayog, when it was established 2015. Who is the chairperson? Prime Minister. The vice chairperson is appointed by the Prime Minister. The governing council comprises of chief ministers of all the state and lieutenant governors of union territories. Then there are regional councils to address the specific regional issues, comprising chief ministers and lieutenant governors, chaired by the Prime Minister or his nominee, who are the ex officio members. So they can be maximum of 4 from the Union Council of Ministers, as nominated by the Prime Minister. Now there are 2 hubs of Niti Aayog through which it makes plans. One is the Team India hub, which is the interface between center and state, and next is the Knowledge and Innovation hub, which is a think tank acumen of Niti Aayog. Next is the Atal Innovation Mission. It is an initiative by the Niti Aayog. What it does is to promote a culture of innovation entrepreneurship in the country. There are 2 sub schemes. One is the Atal Incubation Center, which is fostering world class startups and adding a new dimension to the incubator model. So Atal Incubation Center is for startups. It is an incubator for startups. And next is the Adult Tinkering Labs. Now this is at school level, and it is for basically creating a problem solving mindset in school children. Next we see the AIM iCrest, or the Incubator Capability Enhancement Program for a Robust Ecosystem. It comes under the Atal Innovation Mission, and the Atal Innovation Mission is under Niti Aayog, and it has been designed to act as a growth support for Atal Innovation Mission and the incubators across country. It has also been joined by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, so this is important, that which agency has joined hands or funded the Atal Innovation Mission. It's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Next we see the National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence by Niti Aayog. This is important, that who has given this strategy. It is by Niti Aayog, and by when it plans to adopt a 15% gross value of the economy is by 2035, and it aims to implement AI projects in critical areas as agriculture, health. Now we come to the Atal Ranking of Innovation Institutions on Innovation Achievement, or the ARIIA ARIA. It is a joint initiative, Ministry of Education and AICTE, and it just ranks all major higher education institution and university in India on indicators. Next we come to Data Governance Quality Index. This is by Niti Aayog. Now, Data Governance Quality Index was conducted by the Development Monitoring and Evaluation Office, DMEO, by under the Niti Aayog, and what it does is to assess different ministry departments performance on the implementation of central sector scheme. Now the SDG India Index comes under Niti Aayog, and it just oversees the adoption monitoring of the Sustainable Development Goals. Now keep in mind the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of UN Development, UNDG, and the year by which we aim to achieve them. And the Sustainable Global Report Index is India's rank is 117, and it is released by the SDSN, or the Sustainable Development Solution Network. Now other reports by Niti Aayog which are important is Export Preparedness Index, School Education Quality Index, Composite Water Management Index, and Blockchain, the India Strategy. Now we will see the National Blockchain Strategy. It is by METI, or Ministry of Electronics, Information Technology. It is not under NITI, it is METI, and it involves NIC, CDAC, NICSI, or National Information Center Service. Now it aims to provide trusted digital platform for providing e-governance service using blockchain technology. Next we see the National Data and Analytics Platform. It is under Niti Aayog, and it aims to democratize access to publicly available government data. Now there is the Vision 2035, which is Public Health Surveillance in India. It is released by Niti Aayog, and what it envisages is to propel public health surveillance in India, establish India as a global leader in the area. Next we see the SAT, or the Sustainable Action for Transforming Human Capital, Niti Aayog, and focuses on health and education. So just keep this in mind for MCQ. Next is the DigiBox, announced by Niti Aayog. It is a storage platform and file sharing and cloud storage platform. Next is Anjio Darpan. It provides space for interface between NGOs and voluntary organizations in the country and key government ministers. So it is an interface between NGO and ministries. Anjio Darpan. Now we see the Composite Water Management Index. It is released by Niti Aayog. It was started in 2018, and it provides actionable guidance to states, and it has 29 indicators. Annual Health Index has been developed by Niti Aayog, with technical assistance from World Bank in consultation with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It is based on 23 indicators. So this is all for today. If any one of you have any doubt, you can ask. So we'll end the lecture here today, and we'll have the next lecture day after tomorrow, which is on 9th. And happy Holi, have a safe Holi. And this PDF will be shared on our Telegram family. If you're not a part of the Telegram family, you can join at ignited_heads. And we'll see each other in the next lecture, and from the next lecture we'll first have MCQs on the previous lecture. So MCQs on this session and the previous session will be asked in the next lecture, and then we'll proceed to